I'd like to call the City of West Hollywood Rent Stabilization Commission meeting for Thursday, June 13th to order. Commissioner Martz, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Keefe. Here. Commissioner Kerpes.
Here.
Commissioner Maggio. Commissioner Martz.
Here.
Commissioner Topchian.
Here.
Vice Chair Bergstein.
Here.
Chair Cherry.
Everyone had a chance to look over tonight's agenda, item 4. Have any corrections or additions?
Move approval of the agenda.
Second? Is there a second to approving the agenda?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We had a chance to look at item 5, approval of our minutes from our last meeting of June 13th.
Just minor change on approval of the minutes. It looks like they weren't fully completed. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Bergstein, and then it just ends. I think it was approved, and then I abstained.
Just make the correction in minutes. Okay, with those amendments, do I have a motion to approve?
I was wondering if we could strike absent Karen O'Keefe because my term had expired for my initial appointment and I hadn't been reappointed yet. So I checked with our counsel, Ms. Regan, and she thought it would not be counted as an absence since it was after the end of one term and prior to the end one.
That's
so could we
fine.
strike that? Thank you.
But you're allowed to serve
Correct.
further, so you would still be a commissioner.
That's true. I could have attended, but it wouldn't count as absence. So just for the records,
All right.
strike it.
We'll work it out.
A motion to approve?
Second. Oh,
I'm sorry, who moved?
I make a motion to approve it with the correction.
Second?
second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain. I abstain.
You.
I was absent. Absent, a non-commissioner.
You weren't present at that meeting.
Yes.
Moving on to item 6, public comments. I don't see any public comment slips. Do we have any public speakers? Thank you. Going on to item 7, directors and managers report.
Good evening. This is a report of the look-ahead calendar for the July 11th meeting. This mic is very high. We do... A little better. For the July 11th meeting, we do have 2 appeals scheduled that evening. We also have the reorganization of the chair and the vice chair and a presentation from the planning department on the light rail extension through West Hollywood. The July 25th meeting has been canceled for lack of quorum. The August 8th meeting does have 2 appeals at this time, no other items. And then August 22nd is the study session. There's also a scheduled item from planning, which is a code amendment regarding the alternative maintenance standards for designated historic structures. That concludes my report.
I'm just curious, normally a study session is not televised, but since we're having a presentation on the code amendment, would that portion of the meeting be televised, or we keep the whole thing televised?
At this time, we have this on the meeting. I will check into it and verify that we don't need to take an action on this item, and if so, then we will move this to another meeting. I assume that would be moved to the September 12th meeting.
I have a question about the annual interest rate announcement that we do. I think it might be in December, but is that when it's announced that for our security deposit interest rates? When does
Correct. Yeah, that is announced in December.
Is there, this is one of the items that I wanted to ask the commission if we could put on our agenda to discuss if we need to modify that in any way. I think right now the statute or the ordinance says 5 local banks that actually are doing business here or that have a site here. I would want to put that on the agenda in enough notice or in advance that if we decided to do anything and it could go through the council, it would have time before the, whatever date that the next one is coming up. So if there were any changes, is that possible? I mean, if there's consensus, first of all, if even putting it on the agenda.
Did you want that as a study session item or an agendized discussion before December?
No, I would prefer it as an agenda item, but I'd want to do it so that staff and us, like if we decide to do anything, take any action on it, it still has time to go through the council process before the next announcement of what the interest rates would be.
I think, understand. Can you,
So each year we announce, they look at all the banks and they
Right.
take the average of the savings accounts.
Right.
And then that's an announcement that's made, and then each of the tenants get their security deposit, the interest that was, so last year I'd questioned the fact that, banks have changed quite a bit now. I don't do any banking at any actual site, and I get interest rates on all of my accounts. Whereas if you do a savings account here at Bank of America, you're not going to get an interest rate.
and they're more usually online, I believe, the interest rates.
What's that?
I think the online banking has a higher rate.
Yeah. So I was just thinking maybe that portion of the code needs to be updated a little bit.
I think that's a
least
good
discussed.
idea. I would support that.
Mr. Noonan, how would you like to handle that? Do you want to agendize that for a discussion with enough time so that if we take action, we can refer that to council before December?
If we're in commission comments at this point, just as part of your comments indicate if you're supportive of that coming onto the agenda, we'll go ahead and look for a date to put that on the agenda in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was the
Any
beginning.
other questions for Mr. Noonan? On to item 8, commission comments. Commissioners, do you have any comments this evening?
I have one. I did attend the Historic Preservation meeting as the liaison from this commission. I guess I'm trying to teach rent stabilization, number 1. I did bring my material, and I did pass it out. And I was also happy to congratulate the new incoming wonderful Lola Davison, who was appointed by the mayor, and I congratulate her from this podium tonight. Thank you.
Commissioners, any other further comments?
Just, I guess, officially I would move that we add an item for a future council or future commission meeting discussion on the annual deposit interest rates discussion in time, so that if we were to take any action, council could also proceed before the December or November deadline.
Is that a motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Do we do a roll call? I'm sorry, Ms. Regan?
A voice vote.
Just a voice vote.
Yeah, a voice vote is fine.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. I'll just make my comment. I wanted to talk about the new online landlord's portal that the city is rolling out. I fairly easily was able to set up my account as a landlord. I was able to pay my annual registration fees online and was able to re-register a vacant unit upon new tenancy. And I'm not the most computer literate person probably in this room, but found it really fairly easy to navigate. My understanding also, Mr. Noonan, is for those, any landlords who are not computer functionate, my neighbor who calls it the tiki-tiki, that they can come into City Hall and someone will assist them on a computer at City Hall. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have an iPad set up at our public counter, and we're happy to assist landlords who would like to be set up on the online system. We are also accepting paper registration still, though I should note that we're receiving about 25% of registrations already online.
Good. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to, I'm sorry,
Karen,
Mr. O'Keefe?
It's actually a question also for Mr. Noonan. I'm just curious how, with the online re-registration form, the city ended up handling notifying tenants when the re-registration is filed.
The online registration requires an email address for the tenant and for the landlord, and we do the correspondence through email. And there's a online signature.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any further? Move on to item 9, appeals. Our first appeal is D-4376, 7530 Hampton Avenue, number 305. Allison Regan.
Thank you. We just learned tonight that unfortunately the notice of appeal was sent to the previous owner. So the current owner wasn't notified that a tenant had appealed the decision. So what we're going to have to do is restart the notice process. And so we'll re-notify both the tenant and the current landlord and then reschedule it for you. So we're going to put that on hold for now.
Are there any parties for that appeal present this evening? Okay. All right, so we'll reschedule that. And we'll move to D-4395, 836 Westbourne Drive, number 208. Just to let the parties know, hang on one second. The way this will work is that our staff attorney will make her presentation to us. The commissioners will have an opportunity to ask staff about that report. And then, hang on, I'm getting notes out. The appeal was filed by the owner, the owner's representative, Mr. Wachtel. Mr. Wachtel, are you present? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Yep, thank you. You'll have a total of 5 minutes to speak to the commission. You can divide your time however you'd like for an initial period and then a period of time for rebuttal. The tenants who are present, you will have a total of 5 minutes, which you must take all at once. So we'll start with our staff presentation.
Thank you. Rod Cradaville applied for a rent decrease on behalf of himself and the other tenants for, among other things, the landlord's failure to paint the building exterior and a substantial reduction of the pool housing service. The hearing examiner granted a $29 rent reduction for the exterior paint and a $6 rent reduction for the loss of year-round heat to the pool. Elliot Wachtel timely appealed on behalf of the landlord. Staff recommends that the commission affirm the hearing examiner's decision. There is substantial evidence supporting the conclusion that the building has not been painted in over 7 years and that the pool is no longer being heated throughout the year as it had been. The landlord argues on appeal that the tenant's testimony should not have been believed and that the landlord's evidence should have been given more weight. But credibility determinations and the weight to be given certain evidence is left to the sole discretion of the hearing examiner. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for our legal counsel? I have one. In the record, it appears that at one point in time, the heater equipment for the pool was kind of an open piece of equipment, and at a later date, the landlord put some kind of a metal cage around it to not allow the tenants access to that heater. Would not that alone, if you can comment on this, be a reduction in a housing services? They no longer have access to that equipment once they put a lock over that?
Well, that's a hypothetical that's not before you, so it will depend.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Then Mr. Wachtel, you'll begin your presentation. Come up to the podium. It's like you have a total of 5 minutes to speak. If you'd like to let our secretary know how you'd like to divide up your time.
I'll take 3 minutes right now.
And just a caution to both parties, we cannot hear any new evidence. We can only consider what's in the record. If you attempt to bring any new evidence to the record, either legal counsel or one of us will stop you from doing so. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I want to start off by saying I'm 500 years old and it's freezing in here. You appear not to believe me. I wonder why. Is my oral testimony not enough, or do you need some proof? Perhaps a birth certificate might be the best way to do it. Wouldn't that be the best evidence, or the best evidence rule, as some lawyers would call it? Here, the only proof of the heating of the pool or the painting of the building is his oral testimony. The Hearing and Remedies Guidebook under the rent stabilization on page 10, it says, make a list of all documents and other evidence that you bring to the hearing to support your position. Statements, photographs, letters. Here the tenant provided nothing. There is conflicting testimony. I agree. I believe the hearing officer, when she asked for the heating bills of the building, that would have been the best evidence, and that was provided for her. That's called the best evidence rule. The temperature in the pool changes on hot days, cold days, and nights. And as you know, this past winter was the coldest winter in history. After the filter and the heater is turned off, the top of the water cools down somewhat at night, even in the summer. What evidence does the management have to present to show the pool was heated and at what temperature? There's no guideline to be followed. Why did she not send out an inspector to test the pool temperature? I would request that this portion of the decision be reversed, or at a minimum, be remanded to a hearing officer with instructions to management of how to prove the pool was heated and at what temperature. Because it appears that a tenant can refute the testimony by oral testimony, merely oral testimony. The same argument is being made as to the painting. Yes, the entire building was not painted over 7 years ago, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been painted in parts over the years. For management to obtain the maximum amount of rent for a vacant apartment, the maintenance of the building must be maintained continuously. That doesn't mean the building has not been painted over a period of time. Does the rule or the reg require that the entire building be painted at one time, or that the building is being painted over a period of time? Why did she not send out an inspector to take 5 minutes to walk around the building, test the temperature and the building? I would suggest that either the decision be reversed or remanded to this hearing officer or some other officer to guide management as to how to heat the pool. I took pictures of the heating element, I tested the water, I submitted the heating bills from the building. Here the tenant has provided no evidence whatsoever, but the hearing officer refused to take into account any evidence to impeach his credibility.
You're going into your rebuttal time.
I have a question for the gentleman. Yes, the cage that has been placed around the equipment so that nothing can be tampered with. Is there a key to that cage?
Yes, there is.
And
Now,
and does the
before-
manager have a key to that?
Yes. Now, before you make a decision on that, I think you ought to know it's not just the pool equipment, it's the electrical equipment to the building and the main heater to the building. And there has been some tampering to the electrical in the building and the main heating unit. So that's why a wall was put up, so
But
no one...
this would be a new evidence in the record, so I'm going to restrict it just to yes or no on the lock on the
I think he just wanted a response.
yes or no would be an appropriate response. Yes or no would be an appropriate response. You
There
responded.
is a key, and the manager has
The
that
answer is
key.
yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sir, we have further questions? Sir?
So in the record on page 109, it says that you testified that the cage was installed, the heater cage, in May 2017 to keep the tenants away. It says the pool is not usually heated in January, but as of January 7th, 2019, the water temperature was 86 degrees. It says he does not know who turned the pool heater on, he added. So it sounds to me like your testimony was that your intention is to prevent it from being heated and that it just happened to be on. But it sounded like you just were telling us that that you're maintaining that it already is being heated year-round? Could you clarify?
There was conflicting testimony, yes. But the problem was, even though the pool was supposed to be, the heater was supposed to be turned off during certain periods of the time, the fact of the matter is, and the proof in the heating bills, is that it was provided year-round. Otherwise, why would the hearing officer ask for the heating bills?
Okay, but it also says you testified, or it indicates you testified, the pool is not usually heated in January, but on that date it was 86 degrees and you don't know who turned it on, which suggests that your testimony was that generally your intent was not to allow it to be heated year-round and it just happened to be on that date. Are you saying that that was not your testimony?
No. What happened is the pool heater was supposed to be turned off for a period of time. But because there was no enclosure, the tenant, anyone could come in and flip it on. It's a very simple process.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
So that the intent was to only keep the heater running from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Further questions this time, commissioners? Have a seat,
Thank you.
sir. I see 5 in the audience. Who is going to be speaking on behalf of the tenants? Just come on up. Before you begin speaking, just state your name for the record and your city of residence, please. And you'll have a total of 5 minutes.
Yeah, Rod Cradaville. I live in Unit 208. I really don't have any response. I believe what Elliot just said pretty much affirms the hearing examiner's decision. I just checked this week. It's after Memorial Day, and the pool is still not heated up to 86 degrees, as he stated. So once in a while it's turned on, once in a while it's turned off. It's just this case, basically, we brought it to you guys to force him to actually do what he promised when we first moved in. And that's it. Oh, and these are my other neighbors, if you'd like to hear from them.
Speak.
Hello, Daniel Zimmer. I live at the same address in a different unit, and I've been there for since 2010, so 8 years. I wasn't able to attend the initial hearing, but I wanted to, and I'm just here to witness and affirm as another resident that Mr. Cradaville's statements and the evidence were correct. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Flippin. I live in the same building in a different unit. I was also unable to attend the earlier hearings, but I've lived there since 2010, and I'm an active and often user of the pool, and we were having heat waves a couple of years ago, and we actually had pool events where the pool was heated in January during a heat wave and in December. And we are no longer able to do that because the pool is not heated year-round. In fact, it's not even heated in the summer, and it's made it impossible to use, which has been a real loss of benefit. Thank you.
Where you're seated. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the tenants?
Regarding the pool heating, my understanding from the record is that the way it would work is it wouldn't necessarily be 24 hours a day that it was 86 degrees or so, but whenever a resident wanted to use the pool, either they or the resident manager would increase the temperature so it then would be warm enough to swim in. Is that what the record was?
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
You want me? I can elaborate.
As long as you already said it at the initial hearing and it's
Yeah,
not
I
new
did. I
evidence.
brought up another tenant in a different unit uses the pool around 7 o'clock every morning to swim. And I talked with him, and he basically said, yeah, it hasn't been heated in several years. He can't remember the last time it was heated. I moved in 2003, and this person was there before that. So he said back 10 years ago or so, it used to be heated. And now it's not. It hasn't been heated. Actually, it hasn't been heated since the cage was put inside the laundry room.
Okay. I have one other, but it's on a different topic, so why don't you go first?
My question is in regard to the cage. You know where it is.
Yeah, it's actually inside the laundry room. The laundry room is actually locked, so you have to use a key to get in the laundry room, and then use the laundry stuff, and then the cage was actually a drywall that they put in.
All right, but the cage specifically, can you put your hand through there or any way?
No, it's drywalled.
It's drywalled.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So regarding the painting, it says on page 107 that you testified that the common area exterior was painted once during your tenancy, but he doesn't remember when, and it doesn't say anything more about when you testified that happened. During that hearing, were you asked anything more about the timing?
Yeah, I believe she asked if it's been 7 years or more, and I said it was more than 7 years.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I have one other
Yeah,
question, or
Josh.
two other questions. When was the cage put in?
Oh, goodness, I knew you were going to ask me that.
I think we have it here.
Yeah.
I guess so you're saying the cage was put in at the same time that it stopped being heated? But it was heated up until
It was
that
around
point?
that time, yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, it was back before when Louis was the manager, and Louis would be able to adjust the temperature for us. He was the old resident manager, and I believe he was fired 2 or 3 years ago. And we didn't have a manager for about 8 months, and then they installed the cage. I want to say
And
it was.
since the cage, it hasn't been heated at all?
It was heated.
Oh.
It was heated before.
No, since the cage was put in.
Oh, yeah, no. Every once in a while. Like the day of the hearing, he actually took pictures, or maybe before the hearing, of showing it at 86 degrees, right? Yeah.
One more question for the gentleman. In regard to the exterior painting, have you noticed through the years if there's been touch-up painting or anything?
Only if there's like work done to the concrete wall or to the planter area. But
So-
other than that, there's cobwebs still there. So it's pretty obvious that he hasn't painted even the outside part that faces the street. He did send in some painters to paint in the inside of the common area, but not on the outside or the.
Well, cobwebs can grow in a year or two, so
Right,
that
right.
it doesn't mean that doesn't have anything to do with it. But that's the question. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm.
Commissioners, further questions? Thank you. Ms. Secretary, how much time is left for the rebuttal?
I call your attention to the Hearings and Remedies Guidebook again. The hearing officer asked for colored photographs of the building. I provided black and white pictures, but if you look on page 12 of the Hearings and Remedy book, it just says photocopies of documents, no colored pictures. On page 13, common area photographs and other documentation supporting the contention the maintenance has not been performed. Where does it say anything about colored pictures? On page 15 of this book, where it says create hard copies, regular printed photographs may be submitted. Why am I asked to provide colored pictures? Why am I being asked to provide the heating bills for the pool? I don't get it. I'm asking that at some point, this should be remanded back with some instructions for management to show some kind of proof, evidentiary proof. Because all you have here today from the employer, from the tenant, is oral testimony. And in my opinion, oral testimony is not substantial testimony. Thank you for your time.
For your seated commissioners, any further questions? We'll move on to commission comments and discussion. Mr. Kirkby, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm satisfied with the hearing examiner's determination on the paint. I think it's been made clear that it's the landlord who has, once it's been determined that it's been more than 7 years, it's the landlord's burden to prove that it's not necessary, and in this case, I agree with the hearing examiner that that was not met. I'm having difficulties understanding whether the pool was heated or not heated. The bills show it was heated. I find who is responsible for turning the heat on and off less relevant based upon the amount of years that we're talking. So it doesn't really matter to me about whether it's a tenant sneaking in and turning on the heat, or it's the manager. I don't know who was turning on and off the heat, but it seems like there's a lot of evidence going back and forth, a lot of statements going back and forth about whether the pool is heated or not heated. The landlord claiming that it's heated, but yet that it's not heated all year round, when the claim is that it's supposed to be heated all year round. So I'm not really sure what to do with this information. I'll listen to my colleagues and go from there.
Maggio?
I think I want to stay close to the ordinances 17.444040 and 17.44.010, both in regard to services. It does say, that a building has to be painted every 7 years, and that doesn't mean a touch up here and a touch up there. So you need to get the building painted. That is imperative. In regard to the pool, it does seem odd if a cage was put in place in order to protect and also prevent anyone for tampering it. I can't imagine then how anyone could tamper with it. Maybe a manager went in there if they had the key and changed it. I don't know, but if this pool has been heated all along and suddenly it is not, it doesn't mean you can't change the rules, but there has to be also appropriate noticing but in this case there's consequences, and it's a service that has been lost. So I'm going to hold closely to the hearing examiner's decision. Thank you, sir.
I would, concur with Commissioner Maggio. I think I want to push back. Oral testimony is absolutely acceptable testimony. It is the purview of the hearing examiner to weigh that credibility. The hearing examiner did so and decided that the testimony was credible, and was then backed up by the bills that the hearing examiner reviewed. So the credibility question is not within the purview of this commission. We leave that to the hearing commissioner. It's long-standing case law that the hearing examiner or the trier of fact is the one that's best set to decide these things, because they are there listening to the people talk, looking at their faces, determining whether they're telling the truth, whether a liar, or somewhere in between. We do not have the benefit of seeing that, so that is why case law time and time again says the trier of fact is the person to determine credibility. And as much as we may want to change that, that's not where we are at today. So I don't see anything in the record that changes my mind that the hearing examiner was incorrect. Again, we have to determine whether there is substantial evidence that supports the hearing examiner's findings. I think both on the pool heating and on the paint, the hearing examiner made a correct decision, and so that would be my vote.
Thank you. Well, I concur with the commissioners that spoke before me, and there's no doubt in my mind the examiner's decision is supported by the record evidence, and I reviewed this file carefully, and I don't believe that there is an error. And yes, it is the landlord's responsibility to, the burden is on the landlord to prove that the paint was not needed, and the landlord didn't meet that burden to prove, and he will be required to paint the building. As for the heated pool services, I agree with the commissioners, and I don't see that the examiner erred in this matter as well, so I'm prepared to fully support the staff's recommendation.
I also concur that the hearing examiner, there was substantial evidence to support the finding that there was a substantial reduction in the housing service for the heating of the pool, and that there was a failure to abide by maintenance standards regarding the exterior paint. On the valuation, I would be inclined to reconsider, to potentially remand it, although I wouldn't necessarily vote against a motion to uphold it. For the pool heating, it says that there's no valuation specifically for year-round heating, I think, but that heating from Labor Day to Memorial Day is $6, and this had valuation for year-round heating at $6 as well. So Labor Day to Memorial Day is the part of the year that you can swim in even if a pool's not heated. The rest of the year, if it's not heated, you effectively don't have use of a pool for 2/3 of the year or more that otherwise the tenants would have had the use of the pool. One of the things that we factor in, one of the reasons I think the Rent Stabilization Commission and ordinance can have these remedies is because landlords shouldn't be able to profit by taking away services that tenants had that cost money. And looking at these gas bills, there was a lot of money spent heating the pool year round, so there could be a windfall benefit to merely have $6 a month reduction for year-round heating when it looks like the bill was a lot more, and when it's depriving tenants of use of the pool for 80% of the year instead of just not having it be as comfortable for the summer. So I'm not sure that we would be, either I would consider having a higher valuation from us or potentially remanding it back to consider what percent reduction there should be in light of the fact that it sounds like it deprives tenants of use of the pool all year round, if in fact the landlord is able to achieve his intent of having the heat be low, which sounds like he testified he wanted to not have tenants be able to increase it even if it happened to have happened once or twice. On the painting, the valuation was $29. It does sound like there was a little bit of uncontradicted testimony that some areas, not just touch-ups, were painted. The courtyard, and also it looks like there were invoices for the back of the property and the front stairs. So it seems like a little less than $29 might be appropriate if portions of the exterior were painted. And so my inclination would be to remand it for reconsideration of the valuation on both things. But again, I would go along with the motion if fellow commissioners disagreed.
Question, are you saying that the amount for the pool is too low? Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yeah. I think $6 is how much the valuation is for not heating it in the summer, it sounds like, is where the precedent comes from. And that's the opposite of what we're looking at here. So in effect, in the summer, it would mean the person can't swim in as comfortable of a pool. Here, it's the entirety of the year when you can only swim in it if it's heated, pretty much. When it's not Memorial Day to Labor Day, they're deprived of the ability to swim in it if it's no longer heated. So I would have a much higher valuation, probably.
I primarily concur with my fellow commissioners. As far as the painting, to answer the landlord's comment, yes, the building has to be painted all at once. It's not spot painting, portion painting, it's the entire building. And in the record, the question was asked, it passed the HUD inspection, but HUD's determination of a yes pass is not the same as what is required under the West Hollywood Rent Stabilization Ordinance. The entire building must be painted every 7 years. For the pool heater, I find the tenant's oral testimony to be credible. I have no issue with that. I did do a little table of comparing the gas bills in 2015, 2016. They were pretty much in the same range. The weather, of course, changes from month to month, some months higher, some months lower. I kind of would have liked to have seen gas bills for 2017, 2018 after the cage was installed to see if there was a substantial reduction in the gas bill that would correlate with the pool not being heated. We don't have that, so we can't consider that. I'm comfortable with the valuation that the hearing examiner assigned for both the painting and the reduction in the pool heat. Does anyone want to give further comment?
Based on my comments earlier, now that I've realized that I was confused about the dates, so the mid-late 2018 is when that cage was put on, and that's when we know for sure that there was no heating. Well, based upon the evidence, there was no heating. I was confusing that with being the same time period in which the bills were produced, and that's not the same time period. The bills were produced for 2015 and 16, so I no longer have concerns about the back and forth. I agree with the hearing examiner's determination on the pool not continuing to be heated year-round as originally.
It appears that the cage was installed sometime in 2017, and we have the bills from the 2 prior years to that, but nothing after that. Commissioners, any further comments? If Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion, a resolution of the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood affirming the hearing examiner's decision on D-4395, which is 836 Westbourne Drive, Unit 208.
And I would second that.
Okay. We have a vote, please.
Commissioner O'Keefe,
Aye.
Commissioner Kerpes,
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio,
Aye.
Commissioner Martz,
Aye.
Commissioner Topchian,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bergstein.
Aye. Motion passes. If any of the parties have any questions, you can feel free to discuss that with staff after the meeting. We can now go to item 10, new business, 2019/2020 annual general adjustment and relocation fees.
Thank you. So each year, the commission announces the new annual general adjustment. The annual general adjustment is the percent amount of a rent increase that's allowable under the rent stabilization program in effect from September 1st through August 31st of the following year. This year, the annual increase will be 2.25%. At the request of Vice Chair Bergstein, we've put together a PowerPoint for you that shows you the CPI. The annual general adjustment is based on the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. It's for all urban consumers in the Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim area. Here's information directly from the Bureau of Statistics, Labor Statistics, on what the CPI is. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is the bureau responsible for collecting this information. It essentially collects a basket of information on costs from different areas, 75 urban areas across the country, including 5,000 housing units and approximately 22,000 retail establishments of department stores, supermarkets, hospitals, filling stations, and other types of stores and service establishments. Taxes are included. This goes into the basis of the CPI. The city uses the May to May annual change in CPI to adjust the rent increase. Here's a graph showing you what this looks like over time. This was from 2016 through 2019. CPIs are taken each month. So again, you're seeing the May 2016 May to the 2019. There on the side, you can see the 12 months. It was 12 months. We cut it down to just the 5 that are available so far. You can see that, and in the report, that the 100% CPI, the 100% inflation, was 3.1%. So our AGA is based on 0.75. So, and then it's rounded to the nearest quartile, meaning it's rounded to the nearest 0, 0.25, 0.5, or 0.75. And so that is how we arrive at 2.25 for this coming year. Additionally, the commission also announces the relocation fees. Relocation fees increase based on the CPI as well. And if a tenant is in their unit when the change occurs, the increase in the relocation fee is due to the tenant in that unit. So relocation fees are applied to tenants that are being displaced from no-fault evictions. This is primarily from use of the State Ellis Act to remove buildings from the rental market. It's also required of landlords that are occupying a unit for owner occupancy or relative occupancy. One final note on the CPI. This is where you can find it. So again, it's the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim. If you do a web search of CPIU Los Angeles, you will come up with the website from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Or if you have a pen and are interested in writing a very long URL, there it is at the bottom of the screen. This concludes my report.
Question. Peter, do you have the new numbers, amounts for the relocation?
The new relocation fees are on the back of the staff report. I believe a staff report was provided in the mail folder for you and at the back of the packet.
I apologize, I didn't turn it over, and it seems like in a 2-year period, there's been quite an increase, especially for lower income tenants, which was, I think, $23,800. Now it's $25,020. All right.
Vice Chair, question? I have a couple of questions. The relocation fees, I know they're based on the size of the unit. The length of tenancy wouldn't be matter, right? If it's, let's say, if the tenant moved in and only been in the unit for 1 month, that tenant is still entitled to get the relocation fees because it's based on the unit size. Am I correct?
That is correct. We've based our fees on the unit size and more specifically on the costs anticipated to relocate given a person's average amount of belongings within that unit size.
The next question is regarding the qualified versus low-income tenant, the amounts. So the qualified tenant can also be a low-income tenant. I mean, a qualified tenant can also be a low-income tenant, right? For example, if it's a 62 years old elderly disabled lady who is on SSI and she's on fixed income, then at the time, which category will be used to determine the amount of relocation fees? The fact that she's 62 years old and disabled, or that she is a low-income tenant because she's on SSI and she gets like $700 or $800 a month? So which amount would be used?
The low-income tenant amount would be used in that case.
Low-income tenant. All right. Thank you.
Quick question. Just wanted to clarify. Is that correct that you don't have to be in your unit for any certain amount of time for relocation fees for you to qualify for relocation fees, or is there a minimum amount of time?
No, that is correct. There's no amount of time on the relocation fees.
I think there are other municipalities where it is based upon your length of tenancy, but I don't think that's ever been the policy in the city of West Hollywood, as far as I know.
But we're still keeping the policy of 62 or older given 1 year notice, is that correct?
That is correct.
And the others are 60 days for anyone under 62?
So these are the timelines within the Ellis Act, and Ellis allows 120 days to relocate. Unless you are a senior, you may request up to 1 year to relocate.
Thank you.
For this, applying the annual AJA percentage to the relocation fees, this wasn't the formula before, years ago. Can you just remind me?
We began adjusting on inflation, I believe, in 2015, and when we did that, we removed the fees from the RSO itself, and so we didn't have to make a code amendment each year to adjust the fees. We then adjusted the fees from 2007 forward to 2015 when to take into account all adjustments since the last time we had made an adjustment to the fees. We had made that last adjustment prior to the 2015 adjustment in 2007.
So the department doesn't really look into the fees that other jurisdictions, they have relocation fees, for example, Santa Monica or Beverly or Los Angeles.
We do look at other fees in other jurisdictions.
All right, thank you.
I had a case not too long ago, an appeal of someone who was a tenant and who had sublet and became a landlord under the RSO. And I'm wondering if that's ever been the case for the relocation and how that applies. For example, if a tenant of a 1 or 2 bedroom is given these relocation fees and then they in turn are the landlord of someone, do they pay the 0-bedroom relocation fee? Do they not have to pay anything and they get the entirety of it, or how does that work?
Good question.
I'd have to ponder that. I'm not sure if I could answer that this evening. The relocation fee, as purely described in front of you, is for, it's connected and tethered to use of the Ellis Act to remove a unit or building, rather, from the rental market, or to own or occupy a unit. So perhaps I can follow up with you in that particular scenario.
Okay, that'd be great. And I know we were talking about maybe discussing the issue in the study session, and it might be something to consider as well, because there are so many people that have roommate situations that if it's not already explicitly dealt with, or there's not a clear answer, it might be worth considering if changes should be made.
Further comments, questions? Susan, thank you for your presentation. I want to thank you for putting together that the slideshow for me. I think it makes it clear for me and clear for folks watching at home. Do we just receive and file this? No vote required?
It's a receive and file.
Okay, thank you. Going on to item 11, public comments. I don't see any public here, so I don't think we have any speaker slips. Thank you. Item 12, commission comments. Commissioners, any further comments?
Just wanted to mention that the city of Culver City earlier this week, I want to say it was maybe Tuesday night, it could have been Monday night, had a very late meeting and decided to move forward with placing a freeze on their rents. It looks like it needs to come back to council for approval to know when the start date is. It could be as of the 24th, which is the day they discussed it, or they even talked about it as early as April this year. And it looks like they will move forward with the freeze for about a year, and during that time they'll hold public meetings with their landlords and tenants and come up with it appears that they want to move forward with some sort of rent control policy, rent stabilization policy for that city. It's one of the few cities here in our little area, that does not have current rent stabilization protections for their tenants.
Are they considering any kind of a rollback once that freeze is in place for any increase that took place prior to that, or not?
The portion that I watched of their meeting, I did not see that conversation come up, but this was an initial conversation just to move forward with the freeze and not really go too forward yet on what they're going to do. Although they did talk about some things, but that was not one of them that I was aware of.
Because if I'm correct, when the city of West Hollywood implemented rent stabilization, there was a rollback of the increases over a certain amount of time. I don't know, none of us was involved with the city back then, but I think in the initial cityhood that did occur.
Commissioner Kirby, so this only applies to units covered by Costa-Hawkins, right? The ones that were built before, 1995 for a city without rent stabilization already in place? Thanks.
Commission comments?
If I could just add to that, Culver City has not added many units since 1995, so it's actually most of their units. I think they have like 60. They have a very large number of jobs, good-paying jobs in that city, and I think they have 17,000 housing units.
Move on to item 13, staff comments.
I think I just have one additional comment, two comments actually. You do have a new copy of the Hearings and Remedies Guidebook in your mail folder. You will notice that there's also a separate document titled Rent Reduction Hearing Valuation Guidelines. We update the guidelines annually at the same time as we update the relocation fees in the AGA, and we increase them as well by the CPI. And so you'll notice that the fees are now a little higher in the valuation guidelines. Because we update these annually, we decided to take them out and make them a freestanding document. This is more of just an administrative process, so we don't have to update the guideline book every year and reprint new books. So this is more of a functional mechanism for us to just have the guidelines that we can update and freestanding. So in the future, when you're looking for your guidelines, remember it's going to be a paper handout now. The other item to update you on is that we have completed our summer newsletters, and we're going to be sending those out shortly. I believe that they're going to go in the mail on July 8th, right after the long holiday, but I will provide you with copies of the newsletters earlier than that. That's all my comments.
I have a quick question, if I may. In regards to the annual increase on the suggested guidelines. So that means that we should not have any $1 rent reductions for anything on the guidelines, right? I'm looking at the, which probably this bulletin, which is the guidelines from the last year. On page 27, it says the windows, for example, the low range was $1. So if we're doing the based on the annual increases, how did we get that $1?
I noticed that your favorite $1 rent decrease for the window is still there. Let me find out what the, so what we do when we update these, we keep the percentage. And so we're basing it off of, now we round to the nearest dollar, but what we're doing is we're keeping the percents. And so each time we incrementally increase, that $1 should go away. Let me find out what the actual fraction is. I'll send it out to the commission so you can see where it is, and we'll count the years until it turns to a 2.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
I have a question, and I might just be missing it, but I think I was looking online the other day for the rent stabilization regulations and ordinance to see if they were online too, and I couldn't find them. And I'm wondering if maybe someday they could be put online for transparency in the government, or if I'm missing them, or maybe it's too big of an undertaking.
Have a look at weho.org/rent. And if they're not there, it might just be that we've been making some website upgrades, and we might have to, it might be just one of those links that we have to fix. I know that I had a consultant working on some of the imagery and pages, and she noted that there were some changes to the website over the weekend. So we'll make sure that those aren't, that they are there and that the links are good. Thank you.
And would you mind repeating that with weho.org/rent?
Of course, yeah, it's weho.org/rent.
Thank you.
Can I ask, I know that you've been working on a report for City Council on how to increase the permanent stock of affordable housing in West Hollywood. There were some concepts being tossed around about tenants purchasing a building, about the city perhaps buying smaller buildings. Do you know when that report might be going before council?
I don't think it's going to be before the council before the September meeting. Look more for that item in October.
Could you give us a heads up when that's going to go before council?
I can.
Just curious.
And so for context for the rest of the commissioners, the council a couple years ago asked us to explore various mechanisms where we could encourage or grow affordability within the open market. And we identified a number of programs and then narrowed that down to 4 specific pilot programs. And one of the programs that Vice Chair Bergstein mentions is we're titling it for now Strategic Acquisition and Financing of Existing Housing, or Safe Housing. And this would be an identification of buildings. The concept here is that tenants would be able, or the city, if we go in this direction, the city would have a 60-day opportunity to purchase a building before it was put on the open market. And if the rents and tenancies in the building matched and the maintenance of the property was correct and adequate, we could look at acquiring that building, and or a nonprofit would acquire it on our behalf and on the tenant's behalf, and then convert it through attrition to a 100% affordable housing project.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, we're never going to let you go. So I just realized here at the bottom, you have listed here security deposit interest rate announced before September 1st. So it looks like we would not be able to have a discussion that would have any effect on this year's announcement. So I guess my request would be, is it possible or does it make sense that after the announcement on September 1st, I don't know how long the tenant or the landlord, when they're supposed to pay the interest, if there is any interest to be paid, but post September 1st, but still during that time that it's going to be fresh on tenants' minds because they're going to see or hear that they either did or didn't get any interest back, can that be the time that we have the conversation so that it can start, the conversation can start then, and then we'll see where it goes? I mean, does that make sense in timing?
I understand what you're saying, yeah, and I think that it might be more appropriate if we were going to change the formula to apply the formula to the next year anyway.
Oh, no,
so
that's what I
so
mean.
that everybody was
yeah.
aware of what the
definitely.
formula
That's
would
what,
be at the
yeah,
beginning.
I'm saying we don't need to the December date is no longer as relevant now that I see, it sounds like this year, existing law will continue.
Yeah, we could look at scheduling something for the fall so that the commission can have that conversation and potentially have something before the council for consideration before the end of the year.
Why don't we consider moving your item then to our study session? Then we could get to it more quickly.
Because it would be a formal action we have to take. I mean, if
Well,
we decide to do
eventually we
anything.
would have the formal action.
It's up to staff if they want to present to us then or not.
All right,
I know that's coming up.
just a suggestion.
It confuse people, though, if we have the conversation prior to an announcement for this year. That'd be my concern.
Commissioners, further questions or comments? Not that I will adjourn this meeting to our next regular meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission, which will be held on July 11th, 2019, 7 p.m. in the West Hollywood Park Public Meeting Room, Council Chamber.